The fluorescent lights hummed their usual, monotonous tune as Marcus Chen pushed his cleaning cart down the marble hallway of Apex, Technology's executive floor. It was 11 p.m. and the building had finally emptied of its army of programmers, analysts, and executives, all except one. Through the glass walls of the corner office, he could see her, Victoria Hayes, the 34-year-old CEO whose face graced the covers of Forbes in Time. She sat hunched over her laptop, her perfectly styled hair now disheveled, her designer blazer draped over her chair like a white flag of surrender. Marcus had cleaned this building for 7 years. 7 years of invisible work, of being the ghost who ensured perfection before the sun rose. He knew every executive's coffee preference from their trash bins, recognized their moods from the state of their offices, and understood their pressures from the documents left carelessly on desks. But he'd never seen Victoria like this, defeated. He knocked gently on the doorframe. "Cleaning service, Ms. Hayes. I can come back if—" "No, please." She looked up and he was startled to see her eyes were red-rimmed. "Come in. Maybe you'll have better luck than I've had." Marcus wheeled his cart inside, maintaining the respectful distance he'd perfected over years of navigating wealthy people's spaces. He began emptying her trash bin, a task that had become as automatic as breathing. "Do you know anything about artificial intelligence, Marcus?" Victoria's voice cracked slightly. He paused, surprised she knew his name. "Not really, ma'am. Just what I read in the news." She laughed bitterly. "Well, you're probably as qualified as I feel right now." She gestured at her screen. "We've spent 3 years and $40 million developing an AI assistant. It's supposed to revolutionize how companies operate. Instead, it's—" She trailed off, her jaw tightening. "It's broken. The board meeting is in 8 hours, and our lead developer just quit. Sent a resignation email 20 minutes ago." Marcus continued his work, wiping down her conference table. He'd learned that sometimes people just needed to talk, and his silence was more valuable than any response. "You want to know the funny part?" Victoria continued, her voice taking on a manic edge. "The AI works perfectly from a technical standpoint. It processes data, generates responses, makes predictions. But the beta testers hate it. They say it makes them feel empty," one tester said, talking. To it was like having a conversation with a calculator that learned to smile. She spun her laptop around to face him. "Here, take a look at this disaster. Maybe fresh eyes will spot something my Stanford-educated team missed." Marcus approached cautiously, reading the screen. It showed a chat interface labeled Apex AI, internal build. 247, the conversation. History displayed a series of exchanges that were technically correct, but somehow hollow, like reading a script. Performed by someone who'd never experienced human emotion. "Ma'am, I really don't think—" "Please, Marcus." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm about to lose everything. My investors, my company, my reputation. Just humor me for a minute. If you were going to fix this, what would you do?" It was clearly a joke born of desperation. A billionaire asking her janitor to solve a $40 million problem. Marcus should have smiled politely and continued cleaning. Instead, he found himself thinking about his daughter, Maya. Maya was 8 years old and had been born with a severe speech impediment. For years, she'd struggled to communicate, growing frustrated when words wouldn't form correctly. Marcus had spent countless nights finding ways to connect with her, learning that communication wasn't about perfect words, but about understanding the human behind them. "May I?" He gestured toward the keyboard. Victoria nodded, too exhausted to care about protocol anymore. Marcus typed slowly, his calloused fingers awkward on the expensive laptop. He didn't know code, couldn't understand the technical architecture, but he could read the AI's responses and see what was missing. So he began writing something else entirely, notes, in the developer comments section, visible only in the back end. He typed, "Before processing a request, consider, what is this person really asking for? Not the words they're using, but the need beneath them. Are they looking for information or for reassurance? For solutions or for understanding that someone hears their struggle?" He continued, "When someone shares a problem, don't just offer a solution. Acknowledge the difficulty first. That sounds frustrating, or I can understand why that would be stressful. These words don't solve anything. but they remind people they're not alone. His fingers moved faster now, pulling from every conversation he'd had with Maya, every technique he'd learned to help her feel heard when words failed her. Sometimes people don't need the most efficient answer. They need the kind one, the patient one, the one that makes them feel like the person or system on the other end actually cares about their experience, not just their query. Victoria had stood up and moved behind him, reading over his shoulder. Her breathing had changed. Marcus wrote one final note. My daughter has trouble speaking clearly, but I always understand her because I listen to what she means, not just what she says. Maybe that's what's missing here. The AI hears words but doesn't listen to humans. He pushed back from the desk, suddenly embarrassed. I'm sorry, Ms. Hayes, I don't know what I was thinking. I'll just finish cleaning and... Wait. Her hand touched his shoulder lightly. Don't apologize. I need to... She sat down, her fingers flying across the keyboard, translating his simple notes into something her AI could process. Marcus watched as she worked with fierce concentration, occasionally glancing at his words like they were a map to territory she'd lost. An hour passed, then 2. Marcus quietly finished cleaning the office, then sat in one of the leather chairs, unsure if he should leave. Finally, Victoria looked up. I need to test this. Marcus, would you talk to it? The new version? She pulled up the interface. Ask it anything. A problem you're dealing with. Anything real. Marcus hesitated, then typed, I work 2 jobs to support my daughter, but I miss most of her school events. How do I balance providing for her with being present for her? The AI's response appeared. That's one of the hardest challenges a parent can face. And there's no perfect answer, which probably isn't comforting to hear. But it's true. What you're doing by working 2 jobs shows tremendous love. Your daughter may not understand it fully now, but she sees your sacrifice. That said, presence matters too. Could you find even one small event each month to prioritize? Sometimes it's not about quantity of time, but about those specific moments when our children know they mattered more than everything else. Whatever you decide, please know that asking this question means you're already being the parent your daughter needs, one who cares enough to struggle with these choices. Marcus felt his throat tighten. It wasn't just that the response was helpful. It was that it felt human, like talking to someone who understood. Victoria was crying openly now. That's it. That's what was missing. We built an AI to be smart, but you showed us how to make it human. The board meeting the next morning was unlike any Victoria had ever experienced. When she demonstrated the new AI, powered by what she called the Chen Protocol, the room fell silent. Then the applause started. But Victoria wasn't done. Before we move forward, there's something you need to know. This breakthrough didn't come from our development team or from me. It came from Marcus Chen, who cleans this building every night. She gestured to the back of the room, where Marcus stood in his custodian uniform, having been asked to attend. Marcus doesn't have a degree in computer science. He has something more valuable. He has wisdom about what it means to be human. And he's reminded me that the most sophisticated technology in the world means nothing if it forgets who it's supposed to serve. She announced that Marcus would be hired as the company's new Chief Humanity Officer, a position created specifically to ensure their technology never lost sight of the people it was meant to help. His salary would change his and Maya's life forever. But what Victoria didn't announce, what only Marcus would know, was what she did later that day. She donated $10 million to speech, therapy research, and established a scholarship fund for children with communication disorders, named after Maya Chen. As Marcus left the building that evening, not pushing a cart, but carrying a contract that would reshape his family's future, he thought about how the world often forgets that wisdom doesn't require wealth or credentials. Sometimes the most valuable insights come from those who've learned to truly listen, whether to a daughter struggling with words or to the silent hopes of people who just want to be understood. The AI that would eventually launch worldwide would revolutionize not just business, but how technology connected with humanity. And at its core, in lines of code that millions would never see, were the words of a janitor who understood something simple but profound. Before we can solve people's problems, we must first show them that their struggles matter. In a world obsessed with efficiency, Marcus. Chen had reminded everyone that the most important human innovation has always been, and will always be, simple kindness.